Hi everyone, I'm Sandy and welcome back to my channel. Today I am very excited to bring a video to you about one of the best books that I have read about health, well-being, and weight loss, of course, because that's something I'm often focused on, and share it with everyone here. I thought what I would do is start a little bit with my personal history and then move on to the book, what the book's about, and then the last part of it will be what I am doing in 2023 that may or may not be different than what I've done in the past, and also some of what the book influenced and what the book didn't necessarily influence. It is important for me to say I'm not a healthcare professional, and I know as well that everything in this particular book that I'm going to share with you will also be, there will be a counter opinion for that particular piece. So I'm going to really talk about the book for the things that impacted me and the things that I thought for me personally were very valuable. And so hopefully this will be a book that you might go out and investigate and read, and yeah, all of those good things. But if you're not interested in hearing about my health background or my health journey, which is be the first part, I will leave timestamps in the description below for you where you can skip that and hear just about the book. But let's start with me a little bit. So I turned 50 last year, and my main thing with my health has been I have been overweight my entire life. Since I was a young child, I did not learn healthy eating habits at a young age. Was overweight in high school. I always felt like I was bigger than the rest of the girls. I always struggled. I struggled to run the mile for the physical fitness test, so much so that the coach or the teacher let the next group go because I was taking so long that they had to get the class finished and the testing finished, which is demoralizing too for a young girl. And then I had a coach who said something horrible to me about how I looked like I was pregnant when I wasn't pregnant, and that made me have horrible body issues for a very long time. It actually made me dip into a little bit of an eating disorder for a little bit because I went on a massive drastic weight loss kind of thing where I was not eating at all for a period of time. I would eat like a piece of bread and that was it. So my relationship with my body and with food has been exceptionally negative in my own head. Just everything. I've tried every diet there could have ever been, both from prepackaged foods to, counting points or changing your habits or fad diets, over the years. About 20 years ago, I got really into working out and trying to like strengthen my body that way and going out and doing more. And that side of my health has always been really good, but my weight has never really changed much. I have bounced around in the same weight with plus or minus about 15 pounds for about the last 20 years. So it's a frustrating thing when you feel like you're moving all the time and I wasn't losing weight. I certainly was frustrated with that. Overall, if you look at my health and my numbers, my blood pressure is great. My glucose, I don't have diabetes. I don't have high cholesterol. Everything else in my health is fantastic, but according to the medical profession, I am grossly obese, overweight, and incredibly unhealthy. And so it's frustrating when I feel like I'm able to go do everything, but the medical industry tells me that I'm not healthy. And so one of the things that BookTube has provided me this year is the ability to look at things a little bit more critically, both from how I kind of review books and then also just realizing that I have been missing out on a huge resource that's available to me in just books and books about health. So last year I had started investigating that and had looked up and found a couple of memoirs. I had read Heavy by Casey Lehman. I read Hunger by Roxane Gay. Then I read What We Don't Talk About When We Talk About Fat by Aubrey Gordon. And I really appreciated those perspectives, but I wanted to get more. And so I have a stack of books that I had been looking at, and I had selected one for January. So this is the point. I'm done talking about my health history and my dissatisfaction with my body, my weight, everything else, and talk a little bit about the book. So the book is not a new book. It was actually published in 2014, and the book is called Body Respect: What Conventional Health Books Get Wrong, Leave Out, and Just Plain Fail to Understand About Weight by Linda Bacon and Lucy Aphramor. So like I said, not a new book. And this author, Linda Bacon, also wrote a book called called Health at Every Size, which I have not read yet, but I'm considering picking it up because I liked this one so much. So this book is actually broken into 4 different sections. And the sections, if I can never remember the sections off the top of my head. I don't know why, but they are deconstructing weight, reconstructing respect, self-care, and cultivating body respect. Okay, so let's talk about the first section. The first section of deconstructing weight is probably the hardest for someone like me who has struggled with their weight for a number of years to read. They really deconstruct the idea that moving more and eating less will help you lose a significant amount of weight. One of the things that they talk about is that the percentage of people who have lost a significant amount of weight through diet and exercise and kept it off is less than 5%. That's just depressing that the success rate is so low. I wanted it to be higher. This is not a book that's going to tell you how to transform yourself and what things you can do to lose this drastic amount of weight. This is kind of the anti to that. It is about learning to respect your body, understanding your body, and learning to live kind of in the weight that you are, the body that you have, in some degree. So in the deconstructing weight, one of the things that they talk about is understanding what your body weight set point is the term that they use. And it's the weight that your body goes back to when you're eating normally and not trying hyper focused on food or the scale. What is that set point? And that's the weight that your body kind of naturally wants to maintain that. And when you diet, you go below it too far, and then your body kind of tries to recover and sets that weight higher and then higher and higher the more you diet. That's essentially it, paraphrasing. Please read the book if you want more details. But it does, for me personally, make a lot of sense because, like I said in the very beginning, my weight has stayed within, the same 30 pounds for the last 20 years. And it will go up and down depending on how much I'm dieting or how much I'm trying to eat healthy is how I've always described it. I don't like diets anymore for sure. But it has stayed in that same weight range for a large number of years. And if I go a long time without checking my weight will come to this and maybe creep up a little bit, but it kind of goes back and forth a little bit in there. So I thought that was a really interesting kind of perspective of this and mirrors a lot of what I experience. The other part in here is really about just kind of coming to terms with that and loving the body that you have, which is not easy to do, especially I just like really, but as I get older, the reality is this may be how I am for the rest of my life. So I don't know. It's a tough one. It is hard for me. But the other parts in here that they go through that I really liked is they really start talking about dispelling fitness myths or fat myths, some of which means fitness leads to decreased fatness leads to decreased longevity. BMI is a valuable and accurate health measurement. Fat plays a substantive role in causing disease. Exercise and dietary restrictions are effective weight loss techniques. We have evidence that weight loss improves health. Health is largely determined by health behaviors, and science is value-free, are the myths that they then go on to talk about in more detail. BMI has always been one of those calculations that I personally don't like that much. I have a very large amount of muscle, which I'll talk about a little bit later as well. I have been working out for a number of years. I'm very, very strong, and I know that I'm very strong. And so the BMI side of it doesn't take that into account. It just looks at overall, I think it's height divided by weight, if that's right. And mine is always way too high. And so, yeah, it's one of those characteristics that this book, when they start talking about BMI, I was like, okay, I do understand that particular part. So it goes through and it talks through all of those myths, really goes through the cost of the myths. They talk a little bit about different aspects like weight in children, things like that. And then it goes on and talks about weight regulation and how you can become hyper focused on your weight, the number on the scale, and not necessarily on your health. I do that. I can become obsessed with the scale. I can step on the scale more than one time per day. I have really, really bad scale habits or have had bad scale habits. And this definitely talks through a lot of those. And so one of the things in here, Sometimes weight loss, sorry, that's the other thing in here. It says sometimes the weight loss that you do experience when you're stepping on the scale all the time is just dehydration. You're not getting enough water, and then you drink more water and suddenly you gain a bunch of weight, and it can be very, disheartening when that happens. And then the other things that it talks about in here is your personal metabolism and how elusive and hard it is to kind of determine what that is. So I thought this piece and that set point weight was really, really helpful. They also talk a lot about calorie counting and how calorie counting doesn't really help your body. So yeah, a lot of things that I struggle with, but they encourage finding your set point, whatever that is. And they say the best way to do that, the only way to zero in on your set point, is by trying a radical new diet summed up in 3 words: just eat normally. It feels so counterintuitive to what, I've been told for so long: diet and exercise, diet and exercise, diet and exercise. But it really talks a lot about putting your body back in control. And then it says people who are motivated to change behavior with the goal of weight loss rarely succeed, whereas those switching their focus to health gain or tuned living more often see results. Like, yeah. And then the effect of dieting is, of course, food preoccupation and body dissatisfaction, which I definitely can attest to that from my own personal piece. So the next section is called Reconstructing Respect. And as you kind of go through, it talks about health at every size, some of those different pieces, putting the health at every size into action, accepting your body. One of the things they do say is throw away your scale, goes through eat mindfully into appetite and kind of what all of that means. And they do stress a lot that it's a slow learning process. And so that's also one that's hard because you want, or not you, I often want instant kind of results. And that is just not how it goes. They say the old model, you have to work out for weight control. New model, move for fun. It becomes play, time out, not workout. And so that's also something that they really do encourage, is movement and fun in movement. So, and then improving your knowledge of nutrition, building your rest, and educate yourself. That's the other thing. Don't take this particular book. Like, I won't take this particular book as the only opinion, but there were some things in it that really resonated with me. The next section is called self-care. And the self-care section really is about, sorry, I have to get to it. The self-care section starts talking about eating well, eating mindfully, and eating towards your appetite. So if you're full, sounds easy, stop eating. But it also talks through some of the ways that your body tries to tell you that, which is, if you've ever been eating something and it just doesn't taste as good, that is your body's way of telling you you are done. And I don't listen to that very well all the time. It does talk about nutrients, it talks about protein and vitamins and all of the different pieces, and to try and work in vegetables and food that you like to eat it mindfully, eat it along those lines, and try and work in more whole foods, vegetables, grains, things like that. And if you like things that have a lot of sugar, a lot of fat, they don't say fat is bad in this book either, by the way, that slowly your taste might start to change, where those things no longer taste as good and your body starts to crave the things that are really good for you. I agree or understand that to a point. That's a hard one in some ways, because there's some food that I love, and but they do encourage that type of eating. And they do say, eat normally, but they don't say go out and binge eat. Recognize that if you're eating for emotional reasons, recognize if you're eating because you're hungry. And the thing is to eat when you're hungry and not because of emotional eating. Also very tough to do, but they also very much in here stress, cut yourself some slack and give yourself a break, even if you're not eating well, or you're not getting enough water, or you're not eating the right things, to not beat yourself up about it. One of the worst things they say you can do is to be so self-critical about your perceived failures. And so really, not, like I said, not groundbreaking, but things that I personally really needed to read, about just kind of how I think about food, my relationship with food, how I approach my health and well-being, and some of the things that I'm doing right and some of the things that I'm getting very, very wrong. And so I really appreciated the balanced perspective in this book. It does go on and talk about a little bit about the next kind of part, which is the very last piece of this being um, cultivating body respect and kind of how you, some of the things that you can do, or that I can do, not you, sorry, I'm not trying to tell you you have to do these things, whoever's watching this, but your personal journey and building that respect for your body and trying to look at it from a place of kindness. I am not kind about my body. I am not. I'm horrible about how I think about it. And it doesn't matter how much stuff I'm able to go do or how good I feel. I look at the number on the scale and it's just, it devastates me, especially if I'm working really hard and I see the number go up. It's a tough one. They do talk a little bit as well about the professional side and the medical field and some of the things that are challenging in there. I personally had an experience fairly recently at a doctor's office where I was having like just some odd feeling in my heart, and went to go get it checked out. And it turned out there was nothing wrong. There were some things. And I asked the nurse practitioner who was giving me the results of my scan what I could do. And all she said is, well, you can lose weight. Well, okay, but what about, diet? What about exercise? She hadn't asked me anything about any of that. She just immediately said, oh, well, you should lose weight. I'm like, well, if it was that easy, I guarantee you I would have already done it. And so it was frustrating. So finding providers who can look at health from a wide perspective and looking at those pieces. So the very last thing in this book that I'll share really quickly is the last part, which is the Body Respect Pledge. It says, today I will try to feed myself when I am hungry and honor my body's signals of fullness. Today I will try to be attentive to how my body feels and to choose foods that make me feel good. Today I will try to look kindly at my body and treat it with love and respect. Today I will try to practice more mindfulness. Today I will try to challenge stereotype, size bias, and thin privilege. Today I will show more compassion towards myself and others. I think that's a great pledge, and definitely some things that I personally have to work on. So Body Respect by Linda Bacon and Lucy Aphramor. I'm sorry, I can't say that very well. That is the book. So what is this doing for me personally in 2023? So interestingly enough, at the beginning or in December, I had messaged a couple of my friends and said, 2023 is going to be my year of no scale. I just get so demotivated when I get on the scale. So I had decided that long before reading this book, and then to have the book say, get rid of your scale. I was like, okay. I did get on the scale on January 1st and it broke, of course. And then my husband got a new scale, and of course it's super fancy and has all the bells and whistles of measuring my body fat and my muscle mass and my bone weight and all these pieces. And I'm not going to use it for a year. I did get on it once so I could get like the January number. And the other thing is, the one thing it did is it told me that my muscle mass is 113 pounds according to that scale. Even if there's a margin of error in there, the ability for me to weigh less than 160, 170 pounds is probably not going to happen given my current muscle mass. That just tells you, that tells me that I know that I'm strong, and that tells me I have a lot of muscle, which feels great. I love being strong. And so that's the first thing, is that I don't get to play with our brand new scale with all the bells and whistles. Darn it. But I really want to not be motivated or demotivated by a number. The other thing is that I really do want to track some things. And I know that this particular book says don't track calories. Tracking calories is bad. I have a hard time giving that particular behavior up. But I'm not going to approach it from the idea of I can't have something if I'm hungry if my calorie count is too high. So I do have this lovely journal. It's by Commit 30. I am not a sponsor of Commit 30. I just like their journals. I'm not paid for this promotion in any way, shape, or form, but I do like their journals quite a bit because they have a very high quality to them, and they sell stickers and fun things to put in them. So one of the things that I want to do in 2023 is track a number of things and track my progress. And this book did change a couple of things that I am tracking. So the first thing in this is you kind of have you have a little monthly summary in here, which is just kind of a fun little thing that I do. I don't use this page as much. What I do use is this. This is the weekly view. So this top banner is really about movement. And that's how it says exercise plan, but I'm going to consider it my movement. And it's really about tracking how I feel with certain exercise rather than any type of real goal in regards to what I'm doing. And so also adding in more stuff like this where it says, yay, I've had a great workout on the bike. I really like the workout on the bike. So I added something in there just to, as a fun thing. And then in here, I'm tracking things like my sleep score. This is number of calories, which I've actually already changed. Number of steps. This is related to a health monitor, a heart rate monitor that I wear at the gym. You get points for where your heart rate's at. So I'm kind of keeping track of that. You see I have my blood pressure here from this week. I also have a mileage kind of idea because my move goals are more going to be related to higher kind of things. So I want to go for 3 walks a week. I would like to be able to get 10 miles in. We'll see, but not to beat myself up. That's kind of what the book is talking about. If I don't hit it, I don't hit it. But that's what I would like to try and do. My, other goals, really tracking water. One of the book had also said where your body will tell you how, when you're full, it's not very good at telling you when you're thirsty or when you're dehydrated. So keeping track of water is a good thing because it can help you keep hydrated, and not many of us are very dehydrated, and I know I am at some times. So that would be the pieces. But also, like, this was my workout today, and I added just a fun little sticker here. This is still with my food, and I may change it. I may change it to more how I felt as far as like how hungry I feel, things like that. I might do that in place of this. But this is the other thing, is to keep track of this from a more mindful perspective and not so focused on number of calories in, number of calories out, which has not worked for me in the past. So, okay, just making sure I didn't turn off. So that's this. That's the journal, and I want to try and commit to actually completing the journal. This is something that when I've used this in the past, I've really felt really good, and then have let my weight up or down motivate me one way or the other. And so focusing on the behaviors and not on the numbers, I think I'll have a better experience. The other stuff from the movement side, I am fortunate. What they talk about, what they talk about is finding activities that you love. And I already have a lot of those. I hike, I bike, I like to go for walks. I do like going to the gym and working out with a personal trainer a couple days a week because I like to be strong. I like to be able to lift the kayaks on the car or carry the water bucket while camping. So that behavior for me is fun. But continuing with that and continuing more of that. I'd love to get a hike in January. We'll see. I don't know. The weather is not cooperating here at all for a hike. But, and then the last thing is the educate. So, this was one book. I know that there are varying opinions, or will be varying opinions about some of the stuff in this book. Some people may say this is not the right approach, which I completely understand and respect. I'm willing to kind of just see what works for me out of this one and start to try and change my mindset. But I do have a stack of other books that I will be reading in the coming months. Some are related to activities, some are biographies or memoirs, and some are actual like books like Body Respect. So the first one I have is Fat Girls Hiking by Summer Mishad Scott. And this one is an inclusive guide to hiking for all different body types. And so I'm going to read this one and then let everyone know what I think of it. And so if you're someone who's been waiting to go out hiking, I'm excited to see if this is a great book to read. But Fat Girls Hiking, one of the other things the book talks about, or maybe it was in the last book, is kind of reclaiming the term fat as from a negative to just a descriptor. So that's one that I thought was really interesting. The other one is The F-It Diet, Eating Should Be Easy. And so I think this actually correlates really closely with this one, as far as kind of the themes in it when I flipped through it a little bit earlier. And so I really kind of want to read this one in February to give both of these books, see what they kind of have in common. But yep, by Carolyn Dooner, that's the next one. And then I have a book that's called More Than a Body. This seems to be more about the beauty industry, which isn't necessarily an area that I super concerned concern myself with, but I am excited to read this one as well. And then I have one that is called The Body Is Not an Apology by Sonia Renee Taylor. And this one is all about self-love, self-care. Again, kind of going very close to body respect. So I'm excited to pick this particular one up. And then I have two different memoirs that I will try and read in 2023. And they are Cameron Manheim's Wake Up, I'm Fat and Jennifer Weiner's Hungry Heart, Adventures in Life, Love, and Writing. If you're not familiar with her writing, she often includes inclusive characters of different sizes in her books. And so I'm really interested to read this particular one as well. But that's what I'm going to be reading in 2023 so far. I'd like to get through the books that I own and then seek out some additional ones. If you have resources that you think I should read, something that has a different opinion from Body Respect that you think I should read, please leave that in the comments down below. I would love to hear that. I'd love to get a different perspective, love to see more information and see kind of what works for me. But that's my current plan. Best book I've read so far because it has really made me think, really made me challenge some of my behaviors, some of my attitudes about myself, and how can I be, at a minimum, be kinder to myself. So yeah, Body Respect. I think it's worth a read, both for people who have the same kind of, if you have weight issues or don't have weight issues. I think it's a really interesting and valuable one. So yeah, Body Respect. Who knew? My first book and my first nonfiction in 2023 would be one of my favorite books so far. So that's what I have for you. I hope you enjoyed my long rambly video. My goodness, this is long. But please let me know in the comments down below if you've read this book and what you thought of it. And then, like I said, any other books that you think I should read. But as always, like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, thanks everyone. Bye.